What is up, everybody? This is Alex from HGTV. And today I'm talking about Avatar Aang, The Last Airbender. The first Avatar film. No, not those ones with the blue guys. This is the one with the blue arrow. Get it right. He's got a blue arrow, not Na'vi. Blue arrow, not Na'vi. Remember that. I was intrigued what they were going to do with this. I'm really fond of the original series as a quintessential hero's journey with these surprisingly fleshed out character arcs, kick-ass action, and a protagonist who... he's such a good protagonist, Aang. This pacifist monk who has all these philosophical dilemmas. He's so charming. He's just a little kid thrown into the deep end. What a great story. And I've also seen all of The Legend of Korra, which, while I don't think it reaches the highs, it's got plenty of good action. Some good stuff in there, even if it's not quite on the same level as the original show. This is also the film that notoriously leaked and was pulled from being a theatrical release in favor of putting it on streaming. And while from everything I saw from it in regards to aesthetics and animation looked top tier, I was a little bit concerned from a story level what there is to do with these characters that we're already so familiar with that have already been fleshed out and kind of had their arcs. So how does it come together? The answer is fine. It kind of is exactly what it looks like. The animation is spectacular, detailed, the backgrounds are beautiful. There's a lot of great action and movement, and everything feels weighty and intentional. The problem is that's kind of all it is. Every single element of the story is utterly predictable, or familiar in a way that just doesn't feel like it justifies its existence outside of kind of fan service, or the glee of just seeing characters that you like as older people. I guess I'll mention some spoilers in this review. Not that there's too much to spoil here, and if you're that much of an Avatar fan, you've probably already seen this. I will say that this film offers quite an interesting starting point for what could be a more fleshed out story, with Aang basically finding another airbender, so he's no longer the final one, with this character voiced by Dave Bautista, representing an extreme version of Aang's goal of using a MacGuffin to bring back airbenders, and displaying a version of what Aang could become if his motivation was taken to its logical extreme. But with the nature of this being a film and not an episodic television show, which has a lot of room to breathe, a lot of real estate to develop things, everything here just feels so rushed. I think I'd much prefer maybe a downgrade in the visual fidelity for it to be a show or a mini-series, or if you wanted to keep it in the format of film and there was the budget and resources available, if we could plan this story into a trilogy of some kind and establish some of these story beats but not wrap them up all in one burst. So if you could stretch out the arc of the Dave Bautista character into 2 or 3 movies, I just think it would hit a lot harder and connect more than the kind of nothing burger this winds up being. It's quite forgettable. I'm kind of struggling to remember anything that happened in the film outside of some cool action and some cool animation. And again, with the kind of lack of space they have to develop anything, it's cool to see the group back together, but they're kind of just caricatures of themselves because they're just given nothing to do, really. I don't remember Sokka being as annoying as he is. I remember liking his humor, but it just didn't really click in this film. Katara also didn't feel quite right. I get what they were trying to do with her viewpoint and her protest in the film, but it just kind of, again, felt rushed and underdeveloped to feel like there was any real tension or character dynamic that was interesting that was at play. Steven Yeun is Zuko, which is awesome casting, and I really like the voice. Kind of wish Invincible looked this good. But again, he's kind of given nothing to do. He has like a couple of lines, and Toph is there as well. I gotta admit, there is something about aging up Aang to this range that it doesn't make him as compelling of a character. The character hook with him and most characters in this movie is that you already know them. If hypothetically you hadn't seen the show and you'd only seen this movie, I don't know what you'd really like about him that much. He's quite uninteresting and generic, and I wasn't really into his voice that much either, whereas I adore his voice in the original. This might sound like nitpicking, but there really isn't that much to this movie, and kind of feels like a missed opportunity, or just playing the safe route to kind of gauge the interest of this kind of angle. Even though I would take this 100 million billion times over whatever the live-action Netflix show is, I refuse to watch that. It's just a terrible idea. I feel similarly to this insistence of live-action remaking all these old animated films, ignoring the fact that them being animated is part of why they were popular and part of their charm, and their whole style was built around the fact it was animated. Like, I would obviously take this over that show or M. Night's film. And yeah, this Tiger character is interesting from a starting point. His conflict with Aang does make sense. It's just rushed through so quickly it doesn't really have any emotional resonance because it doesn't get a chance to. Yeah, everything on a technical level is quite impressive. I really like the music, the storyboarding, the animation, anything aesthetic. It just kind of feels like it's in service of something not that memorable or interesting. I wouldn't say it's bad either, but it's in that awkward pocket of being not quite good enough to be memorable and not quite bad enough to be memorable, so it's just kind of right in the middle and doesn't really do anything. I guess if you're looking for a breezy, kind of nostalgia, forgettable adventure with characters you like, this will probably check some boxes. The uber fans of this show seem to be really into this film, and I'll always champion a 2D film of this kind of quality and still keeping the sense of humor and the funny expressions, as well directed outside of maybe some frenetic choices that feel a little bit overstimulating or too much after a while, like the constant camera movement, for example. I think it is just the nature of it having to accomplish so much in a film runtime. You just don't really get that many character moments, or it just feels underdeveloped. That's kind of what I keep looping back round to, and I just feel like there isn't that much to break down with this film. I'd kind of only recommend this to super fans, or maybe fans of animation. There are some cool action scenes, like in a vacuum, which are assisted by your love of the original source material. And I know it's obviously like a kids property, a YA kind of angle, but I don't generally like that as an excuse for weak writing or bad stories. There are heaps of films that are contained to an hour and a half that feel considerably more fleshed out or thoughtful than what this film accomplishes. Personally, I probably would have preferred a hyper focus on Aang, maybe a smaller group of characters instead of insisting that everyone has to be back in the exact same way for the nostalgia play, if that meant you got a more fleshed out or intriguing main arc to the character we're following. So yeah, it's cute, it's forgettable, many qualities to it, but I'm probably not going to think about this ever again, and would pretty much always opt to just revisit the original show. So as far as a rating, I'd probably give this a 3-star with a like, mostly for that animation. Wish they could have found a better angle with the story. But otherwise, let me know your thoughts on this. Did you like it more than me? Are you pleased with how this turned out? Did you want more from it? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you next time. Bye!